Shenanigans, truth, lies, shenanigans, shenanigans, truth, lies, shenanigans, truth, lies, shenanigans, truth, lies, shenanigans. Tune in to TLS, yeah, tune in to TLS. It's the TLS show, coming to you live from the TLS show.
Hey, welcome to the Truth Lies Shenanigans podcast. Social commentary, hot topics, amazing guests with a ton of fun and shenanigans along the way. This week's show tonight, we're asking if Joe Biden should be facing Trump-level scrutiny with all he's got going on. Rob B's diving into the debate on the auto union strikes. Plus, we've got Stanley Karr hosting Wrestling with Heart podcast. He's in the house. He'll tell us about his amazing podcast. If you're stopping in for the first time, we record our podcast live on Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch TV. There's a lot of shenanigans, and we do the show live because we want your questions and comments to help drive that conversation. So get to YouTube or Facebook at TLSLiveShow and start typing your comments and questions. If you're listening to the official podcast, make sure you download new episodes on Fridays. But we only have 2 more episodes left until the season ends, so make sure you don't miss a thing. Let me introduce you to my co-hosts. First up today, we have our nature lover, rock star, gamer, coming to you from Ontario, Canada, Rob B. Rock.
Hey, Rob. Oh, you're muted.
Yep, there it is.
Infamous.
There it is on the browser. I'm watching. I'm like, my microphone's not muted. What's going on? Of course I did it. But hey, happy hump day, y'all.
Hey, Rob.
It's been an interesting week. I had another fun time on the set with the crew from Low Bar Productions, working on those micro short horror films. And
Nice.
after shooting at the first few locations, we were on our way to shoot the second movie, and my partner in crime looks at me and says, "Oh, by the way, the crew and I have discussed it, and you're going to be our monster for the next movie. So that's going to require you to be in full makeup." And I was just like,
It doesn't require to be in
All
full
right,
makeup.
let's do this. Oh, yeah. So I'm getting some experience
that's
behind the
pretty cool.
camera. A
Get
little
some
bit in
blush.
front of
That's
the
all you really
camera.
need, Robbie.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect
A
monster.
little bit of rouge.
He's a hater. I can't wait to see
Get a
you
little bit
like
of rouge to
completely
bring up my
transform.
eyes.
That sounds like
They're gonna
fun.
give you a wig and everything.
Oh, see, but you don't need a skull cap when you got this going on, right?
Yeah.
So just cover it up.
I mean, out of curiosity, what kind of monster is it?
Yeah.
For this one, I played the role of the Monitor, which is a monster that shows up on the baby monitor when you really don't want it to. So
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
Oh, creepy.
You fit perfectly. I see that already.
Just like the shadowy figure.
it's like looking into a living mirror, isn't it? Neil?
I was talking about.
Leave it
All right.
alone.
All right, next up we have our young, vibrant model and business owner streaming from Atlanta, Georgia, Gianni Storm.
Hey guys. But this week has been actually pretty the same old. But I do have a little bit of news and the difference in my work.
Okay.
So you guys know I was hiring cleaners, and I'm telling you I want to expand. I can't keep cleaning. I'm breaking my back. So I got a part-time remote job for the time to keep like my things afloat, but I'm still going to be managing my cleaners, but I'm no longer cleaning, thank God. Like I
Wait,
can officially say.
Hold on. So I don't understand. So you're saying that you got someone to help you clean?
No, I've hired cleaners, but
Oh,
I've
you've
been
hired-
doing that. I was telling you guys that I've hadn't had good cleaners because they're not consistent. You know how people, when hiring people, they can
When
be
you hire
hard to be
people,
consistent.
especially these young kids now. I mean, they just was that Gen
No
Gen
way.
Z. Oh, Gen Z, man.
It's not a
man,
generational thing.
My wife hires these Gen Z people and they
Oh.
suck. Oh my God.
What?
They suck every time. They ghost you, and it's just they're irresponsible.
Okay, maybe Yeah, Gen Z maybe, but I'm a millennial. Like I'm
Yeah,
on
no,
the
no, Gen Z. I'm talking Gen Z, the young ones,
okay.
not the
Yeah,
millennials. Millennials aren't. Millennials
that's
are.
true.
Tell me
They're on
you're
the
an old
edge.
man
They're
without telling me that you're an old man.
right.
I'm not an old man.
He doesn't like the youngins.
The
But no,
youngins, irresponsible.
they are. They can be very irresponsible. I
I
have
don't know.
had
When I
some
was
young
when I was young, I
workers.
was very responsible, and most of my friends were too. They weren't like that. They weren't ghosting.
I
I
was.
showed up to work when I showed up.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Same, exactly.
Yeah.
But no, things are good. I just took a little turn. Like I said, I'm no longer cleaning. We can all be glad for that. Thank God. Yes. So, yeah.
We got someone on Facebook says, "Hey, watch it. Old is good."
Old is good. Old is seasoned.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about. All right, and all right, and of course, I am your host, Neo Nix. Guys, I finally broke down and paid for Disney Plus.
Ooh.
Oh, I refuse. I refuse. Why?
There's a lot of good shows on there, man.
Alexa over here talking. Yeah, I finally broke down because I wanted to see the Star Wars series Ahsoka.
Oh no.
Okay.
Is that why you paid for
That's
it?
why I
'Cause there's
paid
so
for
many
it.
better Star Wars series.
I don't know. I like
Oh.
Ahsoka. It's not bad. I mean, there are better ones, no doubt, so far. But I like it. I'm enjoying it. I mean, still, I
So
think
are
I
you
still a
going to
couple
watch
episodes
anything
left.
else?
Yeah, I
on
mean,
Disney
that's
Plus?
the thing.
Oh.
That's the thing. So, I was really surprised by how limited it was and what they had because all they have is like Disney,
Yeah.
Marvel, and Star Wars stuff, and that's it. I mean, I think they have
Oh.
Nat Geo or something like that, but outside of that, that's what you get, right? And so I've watched all those things already. So
Yeah.
it's like I basically bought it to rewatch a bunch of stuff, and so I probably will cancel after a few shows. So I don't know. I'll finish Ahsoka out and I'm out. I did watch
Not
The
into
Secret
it.
Invasion though. That was actually there's better ones than that too. That was I mean that could have been on like network TV or something.
You'll have
But
to
Secret
tell us how it is.
Invasion, to tell the true story, you really need all of the IPs in place. And it's an epic story, and they really had to reduce it.
Yeah, it wasn't.
So it loses some of its charm. Yeah.
It wasn't good. All right. Let's get to our guests. All right. I got to get my voice together. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for the main event in the red corner. Hailing from the heart of Music City, USA. We've got a man who's not
Nice.
just a voice on the radio, but a titan in the wrestling world. With this podcast, Wrestling with Heart, he's here to tag team your curiosity and drop kick your skepticism. So get ready for a no holds barred showdown. Give it up for Stanley Karr.
Oh man. Oh. Thanks guys so much.
Hi, Stanley.
You should
Hey
feel
guys,
special.
how you doing?
Welcome to the
Stanley.
show. You know, I practiced
Thank
that intro
you.
just for you, buddy.
Oh man, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. That was great. That was really awesome. Thank you for having me.
Nice.
All right, Stanley, welcome to the show. We appreciate having you. We're going to hear all
Yeah,
about
thank you for
wrestling.
having me.
But before we get started, I got to ask the question I ask all my guests. Can you tell our audience something, anything that they can't go on Google right now and find out about you?
All right. So I'm a big ice cream lover.
Ooh,
I love
Ooh, me
ice
too.
cream.
ice cream.
So I like vanilla, chocolate, so many great flavors. Cookie dough, Oreo. But
Okay.
I love sorbet. That's like my favorite
Oh,
kind of
really?
ice cream.
What
love
flavor?
sorbet.
What flavor? What flavor is your favorite?
Raspberry.
I like mango.
I've never tried it.
Did you
Mango's
see his
good.
eyes light up when he dropped that?
Raspberry. He said it quick too.
Yeah.
I
Raspberry.
wasn't even thinking about it.
Very cool.
What's your favorite ice cream,
Thank
Rob?
you.
Ooh, I like orange sherbet, but I love chocolate and peanut butter
Sherbet.
in my ice cream.
What
Yeah.
about you, Gianni?
Nice.
What's sherbet, first of all? And then two, I like
no.
I don't know what it is.
You know what sorbet
I love
is,
you,
but you
Rob.
don't know what sherbet is. That's
I
hilarious.
love Rob.
It's weird because I used to get the two of them confused, but then once I learned what sorbet was, I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool.
Okay.
Because nobody eats
It's just
sherbet.
me.
tell,
No.
tell us you're old without telling us you're old, Robbie.
He got you back.
I
But
would
no,
expect
my
him to.
favorite. I'm simple. I like vanilla. I like vanilla bean Briars.
Boo,
Boo,
vanilla
you're like
bean
my
ice.
wife. My wife's just
Ooh,
boring.
good. That's good.
I'm
That's
mo-
not boring.
I'm more of a cookie
Yummy.
dough type guy. That's my
Yeah, I
thing,
love
cookie
cookie
dough.
dough.
All right.
So Stanley,
Right on.
I gotta ask, you got this amazing podcast, Wrestling with Heart. What sparked your love for wrestling? So when I was a kid, I remember watching WWE with Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Macho Man, Randy Savage, the Junkyard Dog, all the
Eddie
greats.
Guerrero,
Oh yeah.
Rey Mysterio.
And they were great characters, so you're a bit younger, of course, but what was that moment for you? What kind of drew you to wrestling?
So I've always been a fan. So
Mm.
just to show you how old I am, like my childhood was like what you were talking about, Gianni, that ruthless that like tail end of the Attitude Era, like the ruthless aggression
Yeah.
era was like my core childhood. So like Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, Kurt
Yes.
Angle,
Mm.
Undertaker,
Mhm. I remember
um,
that era.
John Cena.
yeah.
John
John
Cena
Cena.
back when he wore the jerseys and the ball caps and all that stuff, and
Yes.
oh man, just great memories. Then you got Triple H and oh man, Shawn Michaels.
I'll admit
Yes.
that was
Of course-
around the era that I stopped watching. So-
No,
I
that
mean,
was fun.
don't get
I
me-
actually went to the match.
Really,
Yeah, I went to a match.
I-
But what were you saying, Stanley?
I've been to several shows. Like I started watching. Interestingly enough, I was 5 when I started watching. When I was 9 was when I
Oh, wow.
really started like actually like paying attention to like storylines and characters and things like that. And I went to my
Understanding,
first show that year. I believe it was 2004 was my first show that I ever went to go see. And last year in Dallas, I went to my first WrestleMania.
Whoa.
And it was
Oh, wow.
I've never been.
it was massive. Like they got people from all over the world come to this thing.
Yes.
I'm talking not just the United States, but from Canada, from Australia, from Europe,
Yep.
Japan, all over. They were packed. And crazy thing is it's no longer just a one night event. It's now a 2-night event. So I only went to night 1, and
Yes.
I got to see Stone Cold Steve Austin make his
Oh.
return to the ring.
Oh, wow.
After almost-
316, baby. 316.
Yes. I love Stone Cold Steve
Almost-
Austin.
almost like 20 years later, he was wrestling a guy named Kevin Owens was his opponent. It was
I've heard of
huge,
Kevin
man.
Owens.
It was crazy. And
I
yeah.
assume Kevin Owens lost, of course.
yes,
He had to be the loser in the
yes.
storyline.
he had to be, but like I went to go to SummerSlam last year in Nashville, my hometown, and I actually have tickets to go to WrestleMania next year in Philadelphia, so I'm really stoked about that.
Oh,
That's going to be
sweet.
huge.
Wow.
Wow.
Very
You're
nice.
diehard,
Yeah.
man. I love this.
And your
Yeah, I
podcast
like
is
it.
slightly different. Your podcast just doesn't focus on wrestlers and wrestling. Can you tell our audience pretty much what your podcast is about?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
initially this kind of started as like a class project. I was taking a class where I work at a community college, and I worked there as an operations assistant for the radio station, and it was a podcasting class. So all this momentum, I was just stoked about going to WrestleMania and SummerSlam, and I thought maybe this is a good time to do a podcast around wrestling. But if I'm going to do a podcast on wrestling, I want to do something that's different, something hasn't already been done. There's like
Yeah.
thousands of wrestling
Mhm.
podcasts out
Mhm.
there, and
Mhm.
a lot of really good ones, but nothing really
Yeah.
that centered around helping others community service, charity. Like you hear about it all the time with guys like John Cena doing the Make-A-Wish stuff. And
Yeah.
just really wanted to do something that was putting, spreading positivity around and giving people a different side of the business that they're not really used to
Love
seeing. And there's been podcasts, like separate podcast episodes devoted to this subject, but not really an entire series. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with my show. And I'm coming up on a year since I started,
Nice.
and I'm just trying to, yeah, thank you. And I'm just trying to build my brand, and hopefully see this thing take off.
See where it
That's
goes.
incredible.
Absolutely. Do you happen to have on your podcast, do you happen to have a story that you can share that was heartwarming, or anything that was inspiring from your podcast in the wrestling world that maybe you've encountered during your journey podcasting?
Yeah. So I had a girl on a couple of months ago, and I actually just posted this episode recently. This was a girl who just kind of got into the business through an agent. I guess she was working to become an actress, and so she
Yeah.
came from a family that was, I guess, was very poor, and just
Yeah.
not really coming from a family of wealth. And so she was
Yeah.
trying to, she fell into wrestling and was trained by, I don't know if you remember who Rikishi was, big
Yeah,
guy,
it's familiar.
Samoan. Rikishi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what he looks like too. Yeah.
Yeah. And
His
a guy
outfits were
named
crazy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And a guy named Funaki. And so she trained under both of them for a while, along with a friend that she later met through training. And so she got into the business. She right as she started training, or halfway through her
Yeah.
training, I believe she broke one of her feet during
Oh,
training,
no.
and so she
Okay.
she was homeless for a while. She didn't have the money to pay for surgery. So eventually she started getting she got the surgery, and
Yeah.
6 years later, she's out of the wheelchair and she's looking to make her way back in the ring. So it's just a really
Okay.
touching story that
Very inspiring.
I got to hear. So it was really
Awesome.
cool. I highly suggest you check that interview out.
Which episode is that?
Absolutely.
I believe it's
Interesting.
41. You're welcome. It's 41. It's with a woman named Black Dahlia.
Black Dahlia. Okay.
Black Dahlia.
All right.
Okay.
Nice.
Yes.
I want to take this back to Neo's introduction because you were impressed with the mic skills. So I want to know which pro wrestler, past and present, do you think has the most impressive mic skills? And can you impersonate their promo style?
Yo, you want to impersonate? Let's do it.
Challenge.
Sure, you 7-second challenge
All right.
over here.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. You ain't seen a podcast like Wrestling with Heart, dude. I'm talking about a podcast that specializes in charity work, community service, helping others, dude. It's like not like any kind of podcast on the planet, dude. Brother, I tell you, Wrestling with Heart, go check it out. Oh, yeah. And all the Animaniacs. Oh, yeah, they're going wild, brother. And I
love
only
it.
have one thing to say here. What you gonna do for the thousands of the Stanley Maniacs, brother? Put the body slamming on you, brother. Oh, yeah.
I love it. Yes, yes,
You
yes.
did amazing.
That was
Amazing.
awesome.
Bravo.
That was awesome,
Thank
dude.
you. Oh,
That was great.
That was
Thank you.
well
You just
done.
made
You're
Robbie's
the
day.
Best impersonator on our show so far.
Oh my
Thank you.
god.
Besides Rob.
Someone's watched some footage.
But no, I actually had a question. When it comes to, like, as a passionate wrestling fan, what do you think it is about wrestling that resonates so strongly with its fans? Because you've been to the shows, you know how crazy the fans get. So what do you think beyond, the scripted entertainment that really gets to people's heart and get people going about wrestling?
Good question.
Mhm.
I think it's a lot of things. It's just entertainment. There's really nothing like it. I mean, it's like going to the
Yeah.
movies. You go see a movie, you're hooked right away. You're just drawn in. Doesn't matter if it's real or not. And you're just at the edge of your seat.
You're in it.
And to see it kind of
Yeah.
take place live on, in front of thousands of people on television, it's just a whole
Energy.
another, yeah. And the music and the fireworks.
Yeah.
It's just, there's just a lot to it. It really is a lot to it.
So let me
Yeah.
ask you.
Well,
I mean,
thank you.
You mentioned. Oh, you saw that. So Sherry Blaine Savory says,
Yeah,
"Amazing impersonation." But,
Yeah, he did.
But you mentioned, you mentioned that if it's real or not. So one of the things that turned me off as I was growing up to wrestling was the fact that it's fake, right? Well, when I say fake, I mean
Scripted.
that's a better word. Thank you. So I don't want to say the word fake because it's not really fake. These are amazing athletes who do amazing work.
Yes.
Because
They do.
the injuries are real. I mean, so again, not the word fake, but scripted. So when I realized it was scripted, right, it kind of turned me off to it. So what do you say to people who have been turned off, like myself, to wrestling and the fact that it's scripted?
Okay, first of all, good question, by the way. First of all, I don't look at wrestling per se as a sport. It has athletic competition involved, but I look at wrestling the same as I would with any other movie or television show. If you're
Entertainment.
into
Entertainment.
Okay.
a show, you're going to want to see the characters. You're going to want to see the storylines, what happens next. If they have a cliffhanger that leaves you wondering what's going to happen to this character, tune in next week and find out. That's kind of the way
Right.
I've looked at it. I've always kind of thought about it's hard to explain because it's just there's really not any kind of form like this anywhere else in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of
Right.
equate it to sports in a sense, but it's more than just sport. It's just
Exactly.
it's entertainment.
Yeah, because there is
It's almost that
there is a
mix
sport of
sport and
wrestling, right?
entertainment.
There's a sport
Yeah,
of
it's
wrestling.
exactly. And I think that
that's why it's easily compared.
yeah, and so
Hmm.
the idea is if you look at pro wrestling like a television show, I don't think you can really have any connotations of fake in there because it's a show.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
Good point.
That's fair.
Good point.
Bob, did you have another question?
Well, I'm just curious now, along the lines of philanthropy, in your opinion, which wrestler is the most philanthropic out there? Who's giving more to the community?
That's a great question.
Hmm.
Well, I definitely said his name earlier, John Cena. He's probably
Yeah.
granted like thousands upon thousands of wishes to young kids and people that are going through, a tough time in their lives. So I would say John Cena. There's another guy who's done a lot of good work in the business. He's not wrestling currently, but his name's Titus O'Neil, and he's done like a bunch of ambassador work for the company, for the WWE, and he's just a good-natured dude from all accounts, from what I've seen of him.
That's fine.
Nice.
Now,
Who are your
you're-
top?
Go ahead, John.
Sorry. Who are your top 3 favorite wrestlers?
Okay.
Good
Well,
question.
I'd probably say the Rock.
Okay.
I'd probably say Undertaker, and I'd
Wow.
probably say Kurt Angle.
All right. Well, let's go around the
Oh, I like
horn.
that.
What is everybody else's top 3?
Mine
Robbie?
is Rey Mysterio.
Oh, go ahead,
He never
John.
talked.
Rey Mysterio.
Rey Mysterio. Yeah. And there was another one. I don't want to bring up his story because it's kind of sad, but I think he actually like killed his family. But what's his name? You might know Stanley.
Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit.
Yeah, thank
Oh,
you.
Chris
Chris
Benoit,
Benoit.
yeah.
I liked him. And then probably Eddie Guerrero as well.
Oh man,
That's why I said those.
I remember the day that he passed away, and I was just
Yeah.
shocked,
Torn.
and I I remember crying that whole week
Wow.
because I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
probably
it
like
was. It was.
that was that was that was probably like the first celebrity death that
Affected
made me
you.
cry.
Hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
And
I'll say
we
I'll say-
recently lost we recently lost another talented performer. He went by the name of Bray Wyatt. His name was Wyndham Rotunda.
Oh,
He
wow.
passed away at 36.
Wow.
Goodness.
Yeah, and he
So
was
young.
so young and just had a lot of potential.
Wow.
He had a great
Yeah.
character, and a lot of people kind of compared his work to The Undertaker or Mick Foley with Mankind, and this was very creative, and he definitely will be missed as well.
I think I said my favorite ones at the top of the show, which were Hulk Hogan. I mean, Randy Macho Man Savage was my all-time favorite because
Oh, yeah.
I thought he was so cool.
Snap into a Slim Jim.
And then Hulk Hogan, and then Andre the Giant. I loved Andre the Giant just because he
Oh,
was just
yeah.
that
I forgot about him.
comp. So, what about you, Rob?
Yeah,
I'm with
Rob,
Stan
what
on my number one pick, Dwayne the Rock Hudson. Absolutely.
Johnson,
Brett
yeah.
the Hitman.
Johnson.
Brett the Hitman Hart.
Okay.
Number
Yeah,
two.
Canada.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Strong wrestling.
Yeah.
That's where Dwayne's dad was a Calgary wrestler. So, I mean,
Yep.
I kind
Oh,
of lump him
wow.
into there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then from that early
Segue.
generation, loved Yokozuna. Like that was just a mountain.
Ooh,
in
yeah.
man. That man
Yes.
was intimidating.
That's a big dude.
Yeah.
Oh, he was
Big
like,
guy.
he was a really big dude. It's like, who's gonna give Andre a run for his money? That dude. That dude.
All right, we don't.
Nobody named any females.
Oh wow. Good.
Do you have any of your own?
I forget her name, but she was so famous. I'm definitely just like a cliche, liking all of the famous wrestlers, but I forget her name. It was either Tori or it was no, I forget her name. She was blonde, and she was really famous around the time Eddie
Trish?
Guerrero. Trish.
Was it Trish Stratus?
Stratus.
Trish
Yes.
Stratus.
Oh yeah, I
Stratus.
remember her.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I like.
Yeah. No, I don't.
That's
I barely
Stratus.
remember any of the names of the females, unfortunately.
She was
that
she was wrestling like not too long ago too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah, she was wrestling this woman named Becky Lynch. They had a cage match, steel cage match. She still got it.
wow. Nice.
She's great. She still got it.
Trish.
And we only have a few more minutes. But before we go, you're not just about wrestling. You got this radio show, The Piano Men. It's all about piano players across genres.
Yes.
Tell us about that. How do you blend those
Yeah,
two
so-
worlds?
I know. Very cool.
Well, I in addition to wrestling, I'm a music guy. I love music. It's been, probably just as much as my interest as it is with wrestling. I see the guitars in the background. But I started that show about 7 years ago now. We just had our anniversary show on
Nice.
Monday of this week. So I've been doing that for 7 years. I've been interviewing several people in the music business. I'm talking like guys like Jim Brickman and John Tesh, two guys who have who have their own radio shows that have just released albums after albums after albums that have performed with so many people. I've interviewed a guy
John
named
Tesh.
David.
Yeah.
John Tesh. Yep. David
dude.
Sanchez of. Yeah. There's a guy named David Sanchez who played with Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band, actually one of the original members of the E Street Band. I interviewed him a while back. There was a guy named Michael Omardian who worked with Steely Dan and Christopher Cross. I interviewed him a while ago, and just several other people. And I'm just trying to see if I can grow that show as well.
Awesome.
Nice, Stanley.
Wow.
Very
Awesome.
interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I just want to say we love having you on the Pods Network.
Yes.
But I also want to give you a
Good to
minute
be
to
here.
kind of tell people a little bit about where they can find you, and tell them any last words that you have.
Yeah, so if you want to check out Wrestling with Heart, you can find us on Facebook. Just search Wrestling with Heart with Stanley Karr. We're at about 400 likes right now. I'd love to get up to 500. I'm on
Yes.
Instagram. I'm on X, formerly known as Twitter. I'm on Threads. I'm on Threads. And I'm on YouTube. I just
Nice.
reached over 100 likes. I'd like to get up to 500 so we can start monetizing, making some of that money.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Piano Men, you can find me on Facebook at Piano Men with Stanley Karr. Also, my website, stancar-radio.com. You can find out more of
Awesome.
my information there. And my podcast is on all the platforms. So find Wrestling with Heart on Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts.
Or Pods Network, PODZ. All right. Thank you
Yes.
so much,
Exactly.
Stanley, for joining us. We definitely enjoyed having
you.
you. All right, and
Yeah.
we'll talk to you. We'll bring you back again soon.
Yeah, I'd love to come back.
Awesome. I'll
Thank
talk to
you,
you soon.
Stanley.
Bye bye.
Take care. Thank you.
Very fun.
Awesome. Yeah, it was fun talking some wrestling tonight.
I know. I
Yeah.
missed wrestling. That was a good That was a good topic of
I mean,
conversation.
do you really miss wrestling? I mean, did you used to watch it like that?
I had all boy cousins and they loved wrestling, so I had them convince my grandfather, who was drunk at the time, to get me a ticket, and I went to WrestleMania. Yeah, I did.
Wow.
I was there.
What?
I think I would have.
loved it.
Nice.
I think if I had ever gone to WrestleMania, I probably would have been all in on
Yeah,
wrestling.
Yeah.
I think they
It just
really do
does
put on
some-
a good show.
a really good show.
Yeah.
It
And
was just
that's
so
it.
much
I mean,
energy.
when you were saying, Neo, like the misconception that it's fake, because I did meet a semi-professional wrestler when I was vacationing one time, and we got into some really good conversations where it's just like, well, a lot of people dismiss it, and it's like, well, wait a minute, you're actors, you're stuntmen, you have to be at the peak of your physical conditioning, you have to be entertainers, like there's so much involved in that
Yeah.
industry. It's the pageantry. It really is a show. It's a production. And I like
Right.
the way that Stan framed it. If you can wrap your head around the fact that this is just a show that
Show.
has all of these amazing elements, then tune in
Yeah.
week after week and tune in for the special events and have your mind blown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It was pretty good
That was
interview.
good. That was.
All right, let's get into these hot topics. Robbie, you want to talk about this auto worker strike? Let's talk about it.
Truth, lies, shenanigans.
All right. So, for those of you who aren't in the know, approximately 13,000 auto workers in the US made a significant move last Friday by stopping vehicle production and starting a strike. So, the strike has come to be due to an impasse between the union and the union leaders and Detroit's three major auto manufacturers over contract negotiations and compensation terms. Members of the United Auto Workers Union took to picket lines at key locations, including the General Motors assembly plant in Wentzville, Missouri, a Ford manufacturing facility in Wayne, Michigan, near Detroit, and a Stellantis Jeep plant in Toledo, Ohio. What makes this strike even more remarkable that it is the first instance in the union's 88-year history where it simultaneously walked out on all three automotive giants. So the collective action came to take place after the 4-year contract expired on Thursday. So, given the current climate of union breaking in the US, how do you think the outcome of this strike might impact the future of labor unions in the country? And do you think that the UAW, the United Auto Workers, will be successful in their challenge?
Start with
Good
you, Jenny.
question.
What do you think?
Yeah. Well, it does depend, because if it is unsuccessful, not only does it discourage like other union people trying to do the same thing with these bigwig companies, but it then puts these strikers at risk of potentially losing it all. But if this is successful, then I feel like we can expect, the other union members to follow suit and go after these bigwig companies. And that does help the workers, because in my opinion, I don't see them, what they're demanding or what they're requesting isn't something that is unfair, basically. So it kind of depends on where the pendulum swings with this. But the only issue I have is I don't want to, if I'm paying for a car, I don't want the price to go up because this strike is lasting for so long.
Yeah.
So if we're doing a strike, kind of like the writer's strike, but different, because we're being affected by our transportation. I just feel like I'm not for that. So
Are
I
you
would
buying a
love to
car
have,
anytime soon?
I might need to. This Kia is a target.
Well, no, Kia's not really affected. Well, there could be a shortage
Oh,
because everybody's going to be buying
okay.
Kias and Toyotas and
Anything.
everything like that. Yeah,
And there's
Yeah.
already a shortage of vehicles.
yeah,
Yeah, there is. Yep.
yeah. The American vehicles, though. You're right. There was already a shortage because of the pandemic, and then there was a shortage because of the transistors or whatever
Because
the
the chip
electronics. Yeah, the chip production.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was already a shortage, and they were just catching up, so that you could actually go out and buy a car. But now this happens. Anyway,
But I did to answer your second question, Rob. I feel like because of the amount of people that showed up, like you said, this is a huge amount of people showing support, and because they seem pretty organized, they seem serious. There's a lot of people are backing them, aka Biden. I think that this could be a positive outcome for them. I think that they could be successful, or at least come to some type of agreement.
yeah. So if your question, Robbie, is are they going to be successful? Success is relative, right? Because
Yeah.
Mhm.
they may ultimately get some of what they want, and if that's success, then yeah, they'll be successful. I don't think they'll get everything they're asking for.
Who does?
So, I mean, if they do, then they're exceptionally successful.
Right.
Right.
So, but it's hard to answer. I
They
mean,
did great.
at some point, it's going to end because people need to get back to work, and this is challenging for the workers as well because they get, I think, $500 a week pay, union pay, or something like that. Something around that is from what I understand. But
Yeah.
But I don't know. I have a thing with unions. Unions are valuable because they ensure that people who are, not making their money or being treated poorly, that they are treated poorly and that they get the money that they want or need. Like
Right.
we're looking at the writers' strike and all that good stuff. I mean, there are these ridiculous amount of profits that these companies are making, and these employers are not getting their fair share of those profits, and it's all going to the executives and the managers and all that stuff. Yeah, so it's got to be somebody to speak for people. But I don't know if I like the concept of unions, or I just don't like how unions are done here in the U.S. And the reason is because, it's sort of an outdated system. I think the union I think about first when I hear unions is the police union, right?
Okay.
And I get that unions protect workers, but when it comes to like police unions, they're protecting the bad cops, and they make it damn near impossible to fire a cop who's clearly in the wrong. We've seen it time and time again. A cop does something outrageous and the union swoop in and they're a superhero. It's the same thing in most other union situations where, there are these bad employees that you just can't get rid of because they are unionized, right? And so you're stuck dealing with these poor employees.
That's a management issue. You can manage poor performance out. You can absolutely, it's a lot of work, but you can manage out poor performance. I understand what you're saying though, Neo. It's unions have taken a bad rap because they protect their entire membership. Whether you're excelling or you're meeting the minimum criteria, they will go to bat for you 100%. And that's because, let's see.
And there are contracts that allow bad behavior.
Yeah.
But the concept of a union itself bothers you, or just specific unions?
No. Not the concept of a union. The concept of a union is good because the concept of a union, the intent of a union is to ensure that employers are not are not abusing their employees, right? And if we didn't have unions, especially during the 50s and 60s when people were being treated poorly, then, or even the 30s, if unions really didn't exist to kind of fight for, those workers, then we wouldn't have the incomes that we have now. You know,
True.
I mean, there's still some work to do.
have
So there's
benefits.
value to unions. Plus, and this is a pro and a con, is their political power, right? Because they wield these unions wield a lot of political power, and they do a lot of lobbying, and they do a lot of, and again, it's a pro and a con because a lot of them are, you know, they're lobbying for good things for workers, but they're also lobbying for a lot of negative things. So I don't know. It's just, and they wield a lot of political power. You know, if they want a particular president in, you hear the UAW backs Biden, you know, there's a good chance Biden's getting in. If they go with Trump, there's a good chance Trump's getting in. You know, and so to have that kind of power in a union is significant. But again, it's both good and it's bad, right? It can be dangerous.
Joe Biden himself said, or I don't know if he said it himself, but I think the article referenced that he's setting out to be the most friendliest. Wait, what is it? Let me verbatim. Joe Biden's proud claim to be the most union-friendly president in American history. So, like, how do you guys think that will turn out in the upcoming American election? With
it keeps Trump out.
People are having a hard time making ends meet, Johnny. So I think that taking a pro-union stance speaks to the people. It definitely doesn't speak to the manufacturers and the 1%, because, I mean, having a union environment does make things a little bit more problematic because you can't run things however you see fit. But, you know, in this climate that we've seen in America with union busting, when we've seen the responsibility of running a good fiscal operation is to the shareholders, which are important. But at the end of the day, if you don't have good employees producing a quality product, you're not going to be making those record profits, neither are your shareholders. So you need to take care of these people. And when we're getting into more and more automation in fields that require assembly, I think the profit sharing is a very, very important factor, because when you've got less workers on the floor, there's still that much money that's being made up top. So you need to share that wealth with the people who are running that business. Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because to have three major manufacturers hit simultaneously, like, that's what really kind of blew my mind on this one, was the scope of it. To hit Ford, to hit Jeep, to hit GM simultaneously with your membership, while all of these people are making huge amounts of money. This is the time to do it. This is the time to flex. And from what I've seen, they're not looking for anything unreasonable. It's, you know, wages and compensation, job security, healthcare and benefits, working conditions,
days.
Contract lengths. These are things that we all should be concerned with, and we should be supporting the unions, because they help set the tone for what's acceptable in the rest of the industries. They really, really do.
Yeah,
they do.
And with the record profits, I mean, they can certainly afford it. So I'm for the strike. I'm 50-50 on unions in general. Just because, and mostly, and I will say mostly because of the police union specifically. Because there are some people that. And so,
but you got to weigh out the goods and the bads, because if it's helping more people than the stupid police union, then
all right, we got to pump the brakes on the shenanigans for a little second. I got to put y'all on the Pods Network. It's not your average run-of-the-mill podcast network. It's the go-to spot for podcasts on the rise. And for those of you looking to switch up your listening game, listen to Pods Network. Don't miss out on podcasts like Wrestling with Heart with our guest today, Stanley Karr. You definitely don't want to miss Undiagnosed with Hillary England. Let's not forget about that Sister Sesh podcast with our guest last week. Trust me, there is something for every mood. Aspiring podcasts, curious listeners, that's the whole vibe at Pods, P-O-D-Z Network. So we wrap up here, Truth Lies Shenanigans, head over to Pods, P-O-D-Z Network.com and dive into some fresh episodes. You won't regret it, I promise you. All right, let's go ahead and get into our next topic.
Truth, lies, shenanigans.
All right, folks, we got to talk about Hunter Biden, President Joe Biden's son, facing some serious charges, talking 3 felonies here, lying to a federally licensed gun dealer, making a false claim on federal firearms application, and illegal possession of a gun. If convicted, he could face up to 25 years in prison and $750,000 in fine. Now, the charges are a bit unusual because most people with the same crime as a first-time nonviolent offender don't usually get this kind of heat. But my real question has to do with Joe. House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy has launched an impeachment probe against him. The Republicans allege that Joe was improperly involved in Hunter's foreign business dealings. But here's the thing, supposedly there's no clear evidence tying Joe to Hunter's activities yet. I say yet because something could come out. But this impeachment could backfire on the Republicans. So what do you think? Joe Biden's got a huge target on his back right now. Do you think it's fair that Joe Biden might have been complicit? Do you believe that Joe Biden might have been complicit in his son Hunter's actions? Or is this a political witch hunt like Trump always says? What do you think? Let's start with Rob.
All right. So first off, all sitting presidents should be held to a higher level and face public scrutiny. That's bar none for all of them. Let's be fair. This is a story about Hunter Biden, not Joe. Hunter is 53, and the initial gun charge was from 5 years ago. He was a 48-year-old man who probably doesn't run stuff by his daddy anymore, especially when it comes to drugs and firearms acquisition. So he lied on his applications, and the Biden haters are trying to get as much as possible out of this conviction.
But are you sure he didn't run stuff by his daddy? I don't know.
Come on, man. He's not the first presidential kid to mess up, and he will not be the last. Okay? It was funny because pre-show Prohibition came up. Well, Warren G. Harding's son, Warren G. Harding Jr., did face legal troubles because he was involved in alcohol distribution during the Prohibition. Jimmy Carter's brother, right? Like there's so many. The Bush twins, they got into some cocaine trouble that went away.
That's true.
How did that happen? Roger Clinton and his lame-o half brother. He just all kinds of issues.
Roger
DUIs, cocaine possession, right? And I mean, it goes.
I forgot all about Roger Clinton, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Michael Reagan, Ronald Reagan's son, faced legal issues related to his involvement in a fraudulent investment scheme. So, I mean, this is not the first time that we have siblings and family members of a sitting president who are bags and get into trouble. But yeah, this is a political witch hunt to try to get some traction on the impeachment that they've been trying to enact,
which is just retaliation.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's just retaliation for Trump's impeachment. But Trump needed to be impeached. So this is just nonsense.
I don't know. I think differently. I'm opposed to you guys, I think. Because to some extent, I do agree with Rob. I think that every president should be ready for public scrutiny. You're the president. Hello. But I think that, I don't know. I think that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, like this is like the Kardashians, like this is a clan. These are like, the Bidens, the Trumps, the Reagans, like they're a family unit. And yeah, you do have like your little scragglers, Hunter being like he was on crack and all of that, but he's still a part of the family. Like he's still a part of the family. The family knows his dealings in some way, shape, or form, especially the president. And at the time, I think Biden he was a vice president for Obama at the time, possibly. So he still had power, and Hunter was using his dad's name. How did he not know about it? I think he was complicit. Ooh. I think that he knew exactly what was going on. I don't think he knew the ins and outs and the details. No, I think he knew the ins and outs.
Oh, you think he knows everything?
I think he does. And I do think that to you guys' statement, I do think that this is a sort of a witch hunt because of what happened to Trump.
No question.
But I think also too that there could be something that they're digging up. Like I don't think that they're far-reaching, basically.
I agree with you. That's why I said yet in the intro, because I think they're going to find something. I mean, I think Hunter's a mess, right? But when you're
Yeah.
running for president, having a messy son is a problem. And how do you keep that problem out of the limelight? You got to cover something up. Something's
Yep.
been covered up. There's something that's happening. It's at least attempt was made to keep it quiet. Now there are these emails about apparently Hunter was arranging business deals with some energy company, and then there's talk about the big guy, the big guy getting a 10% cut, and so there's questions if
Oh,
Joe
who that is.
Biden is the big guy. um,
Interesting.
so I mean, could he be complicit? I don't know, but who knows?
Something,
But
something's going to come to light.
there's something ironic though. So Hunter's lawyer is trying to use the Second Amendment as his defense, taking a page out of Republicans' playbook, saying that the actual gun laws he was indicted on were unconstitutional, which of course is hypocritical to Democrats, but also puts Republicans in an awkward position. You know, what do you want? Less gun control? Or you want Hunter Biden?
Are rallying behind that defense. Gun activists are rallying
Interesting.
behind that defense, and it puts them at a real crossroads, doesn't it?
Yeah, that is interesting.
It's funny, actually.
That
I
is
was like,
funny.
what?
Get him, but not on that charge. You can't get him on that charge. That's unconstitutional. What about the guns?
I'll admit, I'm a little
Yeah.
torn too, because I don't know if I want him to, I don't want his defense to work. Because if his defense works, right, then it establishes that, you know, a Democratic president's son is basically for, you know, gun rights.
Yeah.
You know, and saying that these laws are unconstitutional, which means potentially establishing that, you know, everybody can have a gun. So,
But
I'm
see, again,
torn.
this is Hunter Biden, not Joe Biden. Joe's not.
It's hard to
a
separate.
crazy- right? Yes,
It is
it's
hard to
easy
separate.
man. It's easy to separate.
It's hard to separate. All right.
He has to change his last name.
Man.
All right. Is this truth, lies, shenanigans?
Lies,
I'm
shenanigans.
sorry, guys. This is truth to me.
Shenanigans.
I'm with. I think I'm with Gianni on this one. Actually, I'm in the middle, but
This is-
I'm leaning more towards Gianni being truth. I'm leaning more
Oh,
towards
for once.
Gianni's side.
Nice.
All right. So I missed the first truth, lies, shenanigans for our first topic with Rob B. So let's do it
Oh,
now.
yeah. No, that
Is
was
this-
true.
Is this truth, lies, shenanigans?
Truth,
Yeah, that was
lies,
true.
Shenanigans.
That was truth, man.
Yeah, the UAW. Now, I'm still going to say I got a little shenanigans with the police unions, but truth for everything else. UAW.
Well, my story wasn't about the police union.
Do your
was
thing.
it?
I'm
Good
talking
thing.
about unions. Shenanigans on union. Truth on the UAW.
We're going to convince him
All right.
otherwise.
We got a couple of minutes. Let's see if we can get this last topic in as a quick fire. All right.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. So, Johnny Storm, you want to talk about this nasty flight attendant? You got 3 minutes.
Truth,
This is the
lies,
strangest
shenanigans.
thing ever. So, guys, the general public just keeps getting weirder. There was a 14-year-old girl and her family. They went on an American Airlines flight to Boston. When the 14-year-old is waiting for the bathroom, one of the flight attendants, who's a male, he's in his 30s, he tells the girl, "Hey, don't wait. Come to first class bathroom." So he brings her over, but he tells her to wait a second. As he goes into the bathroom, he washes his hands, apparently. When he comes out of the bathroom, he tells the girl, "Don't mind the broken toilet seat, just be careful." So once she gets into the bathroom, she notices the red tape immediately on the toilet seat, and she just uses the bathroom anyway. Once she flushes, she does notice this camera under the red tape that you see in the picture here, which she thought was super weird and suspect because it's clearly recording. And so she goes to tell her mother. Long story short, they get, police and the pilot involved, and it's under investigation at this time. Weird stuff. 14-year-old girl just living her life on a flight going with her family somewhere. But my question actually is, how can people make sure we're maintaining our privacy and safety out in public, in any sense of that word to you?
I just wanna bring this picture up again, and
Just creepy.
I mean, I don't, with the podcast, I think we have to describe this picture. So
We have to.
basically, on the toilet lid, you have
Lord.
these stickers that say, inoperable, seat broken, removed from service, and they're just random stickers. It looks like two random stickers, and it's holding an iPhone to the
light
lid.
on.
It's quite obviously an
Extremely.
iPhone. I mean, I wouldn't have even gone to the bathroom. You said that she went ahead and I guess she peed or whatever.
Yeah.
There's no way. I mean, she's 14, so we give her the benefit of the doubt on there. But
Yeah.
goodness gracious, this is janky, man. And I'm using Rob B's
Yeah.
word.
That is Rob's word.
Janky. I don't know a better word for it. Janky.
It's weird.
But it's pretty messed up what the flight attendant did. I mean, it's pretty nasty, filming a teen in the bathroom and knowingly, intentionally pushing her to go to that bathroom so that he could. I mean, it's just disgusting, right? But as far as to your question, I mean, it's up to us to kind of like, there's going to be crazy, nasty people out there all the time. I mean, you've got to be aware. You got to be ultra aware of situations like this. I know when I go to certain places, I'm looking for cameras and potential cameras. And with the cameras now, shoot, they could pinholes. I mean, it doesn't have to be this stupid, janky setup.
The most
I mean, this is
obvious
ridiculous. It's obviously a cell phone. What do you think, Rob?
Right. Well, I mean, this situation is way out of the ordinary, and props to the teen for reading the room and suspecting that something was off. But to answer your question, Johnny, there is no surefire way to protect yourself from stuff like this all the time. Cameras are everywhere and they are tiny. You need to know how to find these cameras, and then you have to have the necessary tools required to find them. So doing a visual inspection is first and foremost, but then, I mean, there are apps that you can download onto your phone for scanning Wi-Fi networks, for RF signal detectors, infrared scanning, listening for unusual sounds. There are camera detector apps, but you have to actively be looking. There are definitely tells, but unless you're educated and wary, and a lot of these techniques wouldn't even be easy to perform on a plane. Although with this janky setup, I mean, it's clear that there's something taped to.
That's from Scooby Doo, right? Janky.
Sir. Yeah.
Jinky.
Oh, that's Jinky. That's Jinky.
That's Jinky.
Jinky.
Yeah.
From Belma.
From Belma.
I think Janky. I learned that from you. I learned it from you guys, man.
Oh, that is an American Southern kind of word.
All right, Johnny, real quick. What are your thoughts? Real quick.
I honestly was asking the question because I don't know. Like, what do we do? But I think you guys said it best. Like, be as aware as possible. There's no right answer. But when it comes to the girl being 14, I'm thinking of my sister who's about to be actually 17. And it just kind of makes me feel like, well, just having that thought, that extra thought about your siblings and just kind of being in tune and instinctual and intuitive towards your surroundings is the only thing that I can tell people to do when it comes to being safe outside and protecting yourself and your family.
Yep, it's a camera world we live
here.
in. I mean, it's like your topic from last week where the police officer got caught.
Oh my gosh.
Got caught taking a woman into his car. I mean, people got cameras everywhere.
I'm just going to record you shooting these threes. What's happening over here?
But the freaking camera had the light on. The iPhone had the light on the toilet. I mean,
I thought it was fake.
I seriously doubt.
Like, this is a lie.
Yeah, like that image looks pretty staged. I don't know that. I seriously doubt if someone was going through that much trouble to capture footage of someone underage doing their business that they would leave the light on.
How did it get? She would have had to take it down to turn the light on.
No,
that's the
her
photo.
Image. Yeah, she took that photo with her phone to show her mom.
Yeah,
that's
what
the
makes actual
it,
photo.
So unbelievable. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. That's not a made up. That's not an AI photo. That's the actual photo that she took.
But he's looking to get caught, man. That's just
dumb.
That's why I'm like, this is the dumbest thing ever.
This is Truth Lies Shenanigans.
This is some shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
And we have to ask.
Someone needs to lose their job. I'm glad the FBI is investigating.
Yeah, somebody needs to go
Yeah.
to jail. Shoot, lose their job.
I know she's
Yep.
a child.
Yeah. All right.
The
Time
fetish
for
of,
our game
of
show.
the bathroom though is weird.
Yeah.
Bathroom fetish, really? Okay, sorry.
All right. So you may not have realized, but it's National Hispanic Heritage Month. And so we're doing a National Hispanic Heritage Month quiz presented by whistlefritz.com. We each get a question. Actually, you'll each get a question. And if you answer it correctly, you get a point. Person with the most point gets the final thought for the show. And Gianni should have an example. I'm sorry, not an example. An advantage.
An advantage?
An advantage because she is, as she says, half Hispanic. Because there are different types of Hispanic, right?
Different types.
Yes, there
I'm
are.
sorry, that's what
There
Gianni
are.
said. That's Gianni's thing.
It's true.
She did say that.
It's true.
All right. Well, for example, what is the official language of Brazil? Portuguese is the official language. All right. So the next question, we're going to start with Gianni. All right, Gianni.
Ooh.
People whose origins are from this country are not considered Hispanic. That'd be Colombia, Brazil, Mexico, or Costa Rica.
I think it's Costa Rica.
Think so?
Yeah.
I think you answered this in pre-show.
No.
No.
She did answer it in pre-show. That is incorrect. Because you said the first question that was already showing, you said Brazil is not a Hispanic country. You said that in pre-show.
I did
Yeah.
say it. Oh my goodness.
So the word Hispanic
What?
refers to a person whose origin is from a Spanish-speaking
Overthought it.
country. Since Brazilians speak Portuguese, they're not considered Hispanic.
That's awesome.
Gianni, you shot
Wow.
yourself in the foot on that one because you actually had the answer to the question. All right, Robbie,
Rob can't win.
okay, people whose origins are from this country are not considered Latinos.
Latino.
Latinos. Would that be Chile, Bolivia, Spain, El Salvador? It's obvious.
Spain.
That is
España.
probably
Yeah.
correct. That is correct, Robbie.
That's uno for me, Johnny.
Come on,
Uno.
Gianni.
Whatever.
Come on, Gianni. You got to get it.
I'm gonna
So-
catch up.
The word Latinos refers to people who come from countries in Latin America. Latin America includes Mexico, Central America, South America. Since people from Spain live in Europe, they're not considered Latino. All right. Gianni, come on. You got to get this one right. Which continent does not have at least one Spanish-speaking country in it? All right. Would that be Asia, Europe, Africa, or North America?
Does not.
Does not have at least one
I see
Spanish-speaking
two
country.
continents. Let me think hard. Let me think.
Did you say you see two
Africa.
countries? So Asia, Europe, Africa, North America. Spanish-speaking.
Spanish speaking. Please be right. I think it's Asia.
Oh, you're going with Asia.
Wait,
Final answer? Okay.
Africa. Yeah,
Going with
Africa is my
Africa.
final answer. Yeah.
Africa's the final answer. All right, let's see.
Mhm.
That is incorrect.
I'm walking out. No!
So Robbie, that means, well, let me read the answer. Let me read the, that is incorrect. Many people know that there are Spanish-speaking countries in North
Yeah,
America, South
Equatorial
America, and
Guinea.
Europe. But did you know that Equatorial Guinea in Africa is a Spanish-speaking country? Therefore,
way.
Robbie, you in the game.
I
Gianni,
really wanted to win. I
Gianni,
was
you
trying
got
to make my people proud.
both questions wrong, Gianni. Let's get our shout-outs in.
This is horrible.
I'm still mad you got the first one wrong because you had it. You knew.
I literally said it before we even started.
All right, Robbie. Shout out.
Shout out to all of the cheeseheads celebrating National Queso and National
Ooh.
String Cheese Day, which is today.
Oh, I got some string
Cheese.
cheese upstairs and queso.
Right? So cheese is life's slice of joy. So make sure to cut it in moderation for a feta tomorrow.
For feta. Feta tomorrow. Oh my goodness.
Nice. Nice one.
All right, Gianni.
Shout out to my little sister that we were just talking about. She called me yesterday, and it's just good. You know, teenagers, it's just good to hear from them and speak to them for longer than 20 minutes. So thank you for calling me, sis. I love you.
And to that, I haven't chatted with my brother Solomon in a while, so I'm sending him a shout out this week. I'm going to text him as soon as we finish recording. So I'm gonna be like your sister. I'm gonna just reach out the blue.
Please, yes.
All
Make
right.
their day.
Yeah. All right, so that is officially all the time we have for today's show. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us. I hope you learned something, gained a new perspective, or simply had some laughs with us. Look for us live again next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and look for our official audio episode this Friday on Apple Podcasts, Pods Network. That's Pods with a Z, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And keep in mind, we only have 2 episodes left for the season, so make sure you're checking them out. Check it out live. Check it out on Fridays. All right, Rob B, you won again.
This is a mess, and this is rigged.
He's rigged. He's cheating.
It's cheating, bro.
It's scripted.
It's
like
scripted.
wrestling.
It's not fake. It's scripted.
Fake.
It's scripted. All right, Rob B, close us out.
Inspired by the wrestling theme, in the ring of life, every challenge is an opportunity to body slam your doubts and suplex your fears.
Body slam your
Let's
doubts.
go.
I like that. All right. Thank you, Robbie Rock, Gianni, and thank you, Stanley Karr, for joining us. But most importantly, we need to thank you for listening to our shenanigans each and every week. We'll see you next week.